Welcome to the Good Girls Society, the podcast where we, Jen and Sass, talk all things bookish, lifestyle, and navigating life in your 30s. Make sure to give us a follow on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at good.girls.pod, and be sure to follow us on fuck's sake, starting out.
It's staying in. I'm keeping it.
Make sure you give us a follow. Guys, just give us a follow. Don't make me say that again. Anyways.
Just give us a follow, okay?
Please, I'm begging.
We're doing great. This isn't episode like 14 or anything. I don't even know what episode we're on.
It's not like we do this every month. It's not like we say this intro every month.
Wait, did I just say 14? Is that what I just said?
What? 14.
What episode did I just say?
Yeah, you said 14.
I got it right.
Did you? You know what? I didn't even realize we were up to episode 14. That's crazy. That feels like that feels like a big achievement. Guys, we've filmed 14 episodes of the podcast. I don't know if you guys know. Anyways, Jen, tell us what's on today's episode.
On today's episode, we are discussing... Sorry. I felt like taking a little cheerleader just because I could. We are on it today. So, on today's episode, we are discussing the sapphic bully romance, Tryst Six Venom by Penelope Douglas. But before we get into the book, how's life, Sass? Tell me all about it.
You will be glad to know that after many months of me not talking about my dating life because I have been having a dry spell, that I am talking to someone that I like. And I am
Yay!
For the first time in a really long time. So it's
Tell me.
It's really early days, but she is so fun. She's so cool. We're on the same level. She's an Aquarius, and I'm just, like, into her vibe. Like, even if nothing really eventuates from it, even if we just became friends, I'm just, like, so into her vibe. So I hopefully will be going on a date with her soon, and I will hopefully be able to tell you guys the next time we come on because, you know, someone's got to be doing the dating and letting everyone know what's up. But she's so funny. She told me, so she's, like, really big into conversation. Like, you know, some people just don't have good chat, like, especially chat. Like, I love a good chat with someone. I love getting to know people. And, like, about silly things. So she asked me tonight, like, what's your worst dating story? And my worst dating story is pretty bad. I really wanted to hook up with a guy, so I'd never met him before. I just drove to his house. Got to his house, got to his room, and there was a hunting knife on his bedside table. And I looked at it, and he looked at it, and then he looked at me, and he was like, oh, no, it was a present. My cousin got it for me. It's not, I'm not going to murder you. And I was like, what? Like, what? Only a serial killer would say, I'm not going to murder you. Anyways.
That makes me feel real comfortable. Thanks.
I boot scooted out of there so quick. So that was my story that I told her. And then she tells me this story. This is possibly the worst dating story I've ever heard, Jen. And I feel like it's okay to talk about it because, like, she's not on this show. You guys are not going to know who she is unless things become serious, in which case we'll never talk about this again. But she was 17, went on a date with a 26-year-old woman. This woman didn't really look like her photos when she rocked up, and she smelled like mothballs, and she was wearing a coat made entirely of rainbow feathers. So, like, we're already seeing the red flags. Anyways, so this girl's, like, 17, she doesn't really know, and then the entire time she was dissociating, they ended up going back to her house to do the deed. They go back to the house, they're, like, getting into it, everything's going well, and then the woman, like, pushes her down and is like, just stay there for a second. She leaves her in this dark room for 5 minutes, comes back, and she's like, no, lay down, don't look. And the girl's like, okay. She feels something wet and slimy and chunky on her body. Chunky. And then, get this, she hears munching. She hears someone eating. She scrambles to get her glasses, turns on the light. This woman's eating spaghetti. of her spaghetti bolognese.
What?
And food fetish. But like, I said this to her. I was like, if someone had a food fetish, like, fair enough. I'm not here to yuck someone's yum.
But like, warn me ahead of time.
No. Like, why spaghetti? Why not strawberries and
Listen,
whipped cream?
I'm not even against spaghetti, but tell me ahead of time.
Yeah, like, what the
Like, hey, I'm about to put spaghetti on you. Don't be alarmed. Like,
I really love spaghetti.
like, I'd be okay with it. I'm not against it.
Have I just ruined spaghetti now? Have I ruined another food? Because I'm thinking about it. Spaghetti is my, like, ADHD meal of the moment. Like, I can't stop eating spaghetti right now, and I'm just thinking about it like,
no, because they didn't do anything weird. I mean, it was just on her. It wasn't like it was like
it was on her.
It's not Orzo's.
That's true. It's not Orzo's, but it was like not. It wasn't just on her stomach. Like it was on her, Jen. Like it was in the bits. There was spaghetti everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, that's my story of the day to tell everyone, because I really want to get back into telling you guys about my dating life, and I'm finally like putting myself out there and getting back into it. So I've had some stories. I felt like you guys would enjoy them. The spaghetti one may have been a bit much, but you know,
it's fine.
But anyways, how have you been, Jen?
Well, I mean, I can't top that.
I'm sorry.
I should have went first.
Tell me about your spaghetti fetish, please.
I don't have a spaghetti fetish. I still need to learn about I might have a table one, apparently, so I need to learn about that. After May Fly, I might have a pretty princess one. I might need to try that.
Well, but, I'm questioning whether I have an egg fetish after May Fly, so, you know. Yeah. This is what we do.
It's fine. Books just make us question things, and there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing's really new.
That's good.
It's summer, so I'm gonna relax and read lots of books and try and get back into my spirituality. I know last time you talked about that. That's my goal for the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Exercise. Not thrilled about that, but you know.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. Take time for myself and do what I need to do.
That's nice. I don't know if you've seen that meme, but it's like, hey guys, really regret to inform you that exercising every day really actually does make a difference to your mental health. It's so true. Like going for a little 30-minute walk makes such a difference to my mental health. I'm so much happier. And every time I don't, I'm like, why am I so sad? And I'm like, go for a walk. What is your problem?
Like, it's so hot. Like, I don't want to do that.
Oh,
you know what I'll do? I'll go sit by the pool for 30 minutes. That I can do. Fine with that.
Swimming. You could do
still nature.
You could do a little swim. You could go to a lake.
So many kids in that pool. They probably pee in it. I don't like that.
That's disgusting. Anyways.
So let's get into the book, shall we?
Maybe.
Speaking of kids and bullying.
Oh, God.
This book follows our two female main characters, Clay Collins, our resident mean girl, lacrosse team captain, and all-around piece of shit. Then we have...
Guys, just FYI, I write these show notes at the last minute, so Jen usually just reads them and then we talk about them. But I think I think Clay is a big piece of shit.
So, I know you all know by now, but I have ADHD and I wait till the last minute to read things. So when Saz writes these, I usually read them right as I read them to all of you. So anything that Saz writes, I usually just read right now. So,
and I love that about
me, just like it is to you.
I love that. I think it's great.
So anyway, then we have Olivia Yeager, the outcast lesbian girl who loves lacrosse and acting. She also works for a seamstress, so she's involved in a lot of girls' dresses for their formals and debutante balls. This is a school romance, so if you're not into underage romance, it may not be for you. There are multiple plots happening during this book that makes it really interesting, but for the most part, we are following two girls as they navigate their feelings for one another. So I am not really into bully romances, I will say. So this was one that I didn't really want to read going into it. But you kept talking about it and you kept saying that I should read it, so I did. And I didn't like the bullying part, but I liked it overall. I thought it was a good book overall.
It definitely changed my mind about bully romance. I think my problem is, Jen, is that I read all these books, like I read romances, and I'm like, I fucking hated that. But then I read sapphic romance, and I was like, nope, I just don't like straight people.
Yeah.
I don't like reading, I don't like bully romance. Like, I remember reading The Cruel Prince, which is a true bully romance, and
Yeah.
Arden is fucking awful. He is the worst bully. I hated those books. Like, don't be wrong, I loved them too. I loved those books, but I really struggled with him bullying her. I don't mind when it's just the woman, like a Grumpy Sunshine kind of vibe, and it's the woman being the bully, but what I find about myself is that I enjoy the bullying when it's two women. I actually love the dynamic of two women bullying each other. So, yeah. That's how I feel about that. Let's get into the characters. So these two female main characters give off the typical mean girl energy, and I would definitely liken Clay's behaviour to Regina George's, but Liv is quite different from the usual loser girl. So she lives on the rough side of town with her 5 brothers. She's sweet and gentle and thoughtful. She's also super determined, and her energy throughout the book is unmatched. I have the biggest crush on Liv.
So I think too that that's what kind of got me through it, because like when I hear bully, I usually think of like the Regina George versus like the quiet, shy, like nerdy. And I think the fact that Liv wasn't that way is what made it okay for me. You know what I mean? Like if she was like bullying like the underdog, the nerdy girl, like then I probably wouldn't have been able to like do it. But the fact that Liv was like, no, shut up. Like,
yeah.
And like could fight back, then I was like, okay with it.
And Liv was dangerous too. Like her brothers were dangerous. It was like really skating on thin ice for Clay. And the only reason she was getting away with it was because Liv was letting her, which again is like such an interesting like character dynamic. Oh, I love it.
Exactly.
We talked about this on our Credence double feature, but I really love the way Penelope Douglas manages to make you fall in love with even the most unlikable characters in the series. Although I would love to punch Clay in the face, you can tell that her actions are a projection of her insecurities, and she doesn't realize her cruelness is a subconscious cry for help. So I think throughout this book we really figure out that Clay is so closeted that she doesn't even realize that she's gay, and it takes her a lot of this book to realize that she is a lesbian, which like it's sad the way she goes about it, but her home life is not very good, and I think it was just a perfect storm. And like I said, like Penelope Douglas just manages to make me feel sorry for and love these characters. Like, how do you do it? How do you do it?
I don't know.
Okay, I felt so bad for her with her terrible family life and the way she thought her parents wouldn't accept her. Like, I thought it was interesting how the entire time we think her mum's this, like, homophobic monster, but her mum's not at all. Her mum's the most accepting, which is crazy. But, you know, she's this bubblegum Barbie popular girl with the silky blonde hair, the perfect body. She's, you know, wears the right outfits. She's your cookie cutter popular girl. And I loved that about her because it was the intricacies of her not really being that person at all. And I think having that lesbian edge, just like she was fucked up and she was awful and she was nasty. She was the worst kind of person. I love characters like that. Like truly irredeemable. It's like Nesta. I love these fucked up characters. What did you think?
Because are so messed up, but it's like they're messed up for a reason. Like they're not just naturally mean. They
Yeah,
have trauma that they need to work through. And when they like you're rooting for them. You want them to get better. You want them to become a better person. And when they do, it means so much more. Like when you're just like good all the time, like you're just good all the time. Like, but when you have this trauma and you can see that like kernel of good, you want that kernel to become something bigger. And when it finally does, it's like you knew it. Like you knew they could get there, and when they do, it's just so much more meaningful.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, so I mean, I like her, even though she is a piece of shit. I
Yeah.
am really loving Clay. And then we've got Liv. Oh my god. Olivia Yeager is just like dreamy to me. Like she's dream girl status. She rides
Yeah.
motorbikes. She wears short skirts and cherry red lipstick. Her long dark hair is
Mhm.
styled beautifully. She's fit as fuck. She plays on the lacrosse team. And she's basically their star player, besides Clay, who's the
Yeah.
captain. She really is what saves that team. So her and Clay have
Oh
this
yeah.
this interesting energy on like the field as well. I really, really loved that as well. We'll get into that. She had such a rough life, and the only reason she's attending her
Yeah.
high school is to get into an Ivy League university, which she's well on her way to doing. So, like, she's such a complex character. From the get-go, you just fall in love with Liv, which is the saving
Yeah.
grace of this story. It's the reason you keep going, in my opinion.
Yeah. And it's so important too to know that like her family just wants her to do better. Her family just wants her to be the one that gets out of town and to be the one that makes something of her life, especially because a lot of them know that they won't ever be able to. And so they're pushing her to be the one that can do that and is going to be the one that gets out of there.
Yeah, 100%. These two had undeniable and sizzling energy when they were together, and I ate this story up. We get bully romance, touch her and die, secret dating, coming out story, high school romance, sports rivals, forced proximity, happily ever after, like just so many tropes that I personally love in a sapphic story. So I really ate up this story and the characters' chemistry. I would rate the characters, like I obviously haven't put any of the throwaway characters in here because all of the brothers actually have books, I'm pretty sure. So
Oh, I didn't know
yeah,
that.
so the Jaeger family does have, like, Penelope's done books on, I'm pretty sure all of them, if not all of them, she's done books on some of them because there's a new one coming out, or it's already come out. But I would rate these main two characters 5 out of 5. Like, I just loved how complex they were. I thought they had just undeniable chemistry, and there was not a point in time where I wasn't feeling something for them. Even if it was negative, I still thought it was good.
Yeah, I agree. I think Penelope does a really, really great job with her character development and the way that she portrays all of her characters. So I definitely would give them a 5 out of 5 as well.
Plan.
Yeah. So our main plot centers around Clay discovering her love for women and coming to terms with that while simultaneously falling in love with Liv. But we also have our undercurrent of the sinister conflict with Clay's other love interest, who happens to make a deal with Liv so she can play a part in the school play. Fuck that guy.
There's always
Seriously.
one that I say fuck that guy about.
Always. And you know what? Last time I didn't agree with you, but this time I 100% agree with you. Fuck that guy.
It was just like that rich, entitled, like, I just want to create drama for people, and all Liv wanted to do was be in that play
Yeah.
as, God, I can't even remember his name, but it's one of the
Monty.
best friend.
I want to say Montague, but that's like the last name.
No, it's oh God, I can't remember, but it's Romeo's best friend, right?
Yeah.
And like she was just so passionate about it, and the way he dangled it in front of her like it was a piece of carrot for a horse, like it was just awful.
Yep.
And the fact that like at the end of the book as well, he comes out, we find out he's gay anyway, or at least bi. So like
Right.
he's just an awful character. I found that we had all, like, that wasn't the only two plot lines, but we had all these undercurrents of so much happening between so many different characters, which is why I didn't put them into the show notes, because, guys, there are so many characters in this book.
So many characters.
Clay's two best friends are also really interesting, because we've got one who's like super homophobic and has just lived a very closeted life, and then another one who actually a G and is sleeping with one of the Jaeger brothers. So like you've got this
Doesn't she try to sleep with another one too towards the end?
Yes. And like that's such an interesting dynamic, because you can tell one of them is going to absolutely be fine with Clay coming out, and they're going to be fine with whatever Clay chooses to do. But then we've got, I think her name was Amy, the other one. I fucking hated Amy. But everyone's like, fuck you, terrible. Amy. Fuck you, Amy, at the end. Fuck you, Amy. So, like,
fuck you, Amy.
And then we have this dynamic of home life with Liv as well. So we've just got so much happening in this book. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of one of those books where, and I think this is a Penelope Douglas thing, not much happens, but so much happens. So I loved the plot, because, you know, you guys, you know this by now, but character-driven plots are my thing. I just love them.
Yeah.
I really do. I would rate the plot 5 out of 5. Again, for me, it was a winner. But what do you reckon, Jen?
I'm gonna say a 4 out of 5. Mainly because, like you said, there wasn't much happening, but there was a lot happening, and I like a plot. Like I want a big plot in my story. I do like character-driven plots for some things, and then other things I want a plot. So I'm gonna say a 4 out of 5 for this one.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I always say that. I'm like, that's fair. Honestly, I think it's great that we have such different ideas of what makes a book good. I think that's what makes this podcast really fun, because I think a lot of people will agree with you, but then a lot of people will agree with me, and I think that also helps other people determine whether a book's going to work for them. Because I have people who will be like, they'll be like, I will read anything that you suggest because I really like your taste. But then I'll have other people who will be like, yeah, I read that, I didn't really like it that much, but thanks for, you know, showing me something that I might not have read before.
I mean, like, I genuinely think, like, overall you and I have very similar tastes, but, like, for me, like, I'm not into the bully thing. Like, it's just not me. But like, and then when it comes to plot, like, I could go either way. I could go for character. I could go for plot. For this one, I think really the bully thing was what threw me off the most out of everything. So, truthfully. But I gave it a chance, and I liked the book. But I also think because it was Penelope, I just like her stuff. So I think that, like, also sold me on it. So
yeah, 100%. All right, let's move on to the spice, because there's a lot of it. We get a lot of on-page smut, which I love Penelope for, like, not holding back. I love the way that she writes smut. I love the length, like how long she chooses to spend describing sex scenes. Like, I think sometimes, especially with sapphic novels, like, it's obviously unfortunately, like, Penelope isn't, you know, she's a wife, she's got kids, right? Like, it's unfortunate that she's not a member of the community. Look, listen, she could be bi, I don't know, I haven't researched that much, but it does suck that I don't find this level of spice at, like, this premium in a lot of sapphic content. So I really, really loved the smut in this book, because you just don't get it in a lot of other books. But let's talk about the highlights, because there was a lot of smut in this book, which, again, if you want smutty lesbian romance, this is the book for you. I loved the first scene when Liv is messing around with the lacrosse coach. Was it Megan? Have I got that right?
Yeah.
I didn't reread this for our reread, but I've reread this book, I think, 4 times at this point. So I was like, I probably don't.
Did you really?
I love this book so much. It's a comfort read. I go back to it all the time. I'll listen to the audiobook when I'm, like, when I need to clean, I need to like really focus. I'm like, I'm just going to put Tryst Six Venom on and just, like,
I love that.
I love this book. It really is a comfort book for me, which is fucked up, but, you know,
we all know. We all have our interests, right?
We all know. Yeah. So anyway, so the first scene where we really, like, see the spice come out is this lacrosse coach and Liv in a car, and Clay is somehow stalking these bitches, takes a fucking video of them and posts it online. And like, that's a clear violation of Liv's right.
Yeah.
Like, but it's also such a transparent show of insecurity on Clay's behalf, and you really feel that. And she takes it down. She's like, what the fuck am I doing? She takes it down. But it's too late. It's already been reposted.
Yeah, because people have already seen it, yeah.
I mean, the internet is forever, as they say.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, obviously that was really uncomfortable, and it made you hate Clay even more. I think that was, like, the instigator of a fight that they had. I love when enemies fight. Like, when they actually physically fight, and you're like, kiss. Kiss.
Yep.
Which they didn't.
I do love a good enemies to lovers, so I get that aspect of it, yeah.
I love it. I really loved, I think this is probably my favorite of all of the SMUT, was the forced proximity away game. So when they played lacrosse at that away game and they had that massive fight
and they get locked in to the hotel room.
Yeah. So by the coach.
Oh, I loved that scene.
And, like, you know what? It was the little things in that scene too, like the fact that the pizzas that they ordered were, like, ordered for each other. Like, they ordered, you know, to make sure they... Like, they knew each other's pizza order, which to me was like, you guys do love each other. Like, you are clearly obsessed with each other.
Yes.
I just love it. And so the huge
I think
fight...
that was like my favorite, like, spice scene in the whole book.
Yeah. So what I love about that spice scene is that it's like the middle of the night. She sneaks... So her best friends are sleeping in the bed next to them. She sneaks into Liv's bed. And then I'm pretty sure they, like... I'm pretty sure they scissor and they go down on each other. Like, it's a hectic...
They're going down on each other, yeah.
Hectic.
And then the alarm goes off.
Yes.
And they're freaking out because I forget who, but one of them's down on the other, and the alarm goes off, and they have to, like, make sure their clothes are hidden and look like they're not doing it because the friends are waking up and they can't know. And then the one's, like, taking Starbucks orders, and they're, like, trying to hide the fact that they're completely naked.
Yeah.
And then the other one thankfully goes and gets a shower so that they can, like, kind of, like, get ready real quick. But then they don't. They finished, yeah. And then almost get caught a second time. And I'm like, I'm like loving it, but stressing out because I'm like, go ahead, finish, get it. And I'm like cheering them on, trying to, like, get them there faster myself. Like, I'm there for them.
Yeah. You're so stressed out during that scene, but you're so turned on and you're like, oh my God, there's so much going on. And again, thank you, Penelope.
Yes.
Like, thank you.
Uh-huh.
And I think as well, like, this is not spice, but, like, straight after this scene is when Clay's like, I'm going to drop you off, but then ends up going with her friends and leaving Liv in the rain. And, like, oh my God, you just feel so bad in that moment for Liv and also Clay because she wanted to.
I know.
But, oh God. And then the other scene I put down as, like, a highlight was the old double-ended dildo. Like, the fact that they're both dildo virgins, you know, it's very much, like, it was so corny and it's so straight-centric. Like, that's so not what gay women are doing.
Yeah.
But, like, I love a phallic object included in SMUT. I can't lie. And I did enjoy it. And I felt like, although Penelope clearly doesn't understand, or, well, you know what, that's a lie. I'm talking from my own experience, but, like, to me, using a dildo to lose your virginity to someone isn't really, in my opinion, a very special lesbian experience. Like, that's not really, it's not the same as when a man and a woman have sex.
No.
So when
Clay was so, like, against it, you know what I mean? That, like, I feel like for her, she needed that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, it was her losing her virginity. But then, obviously, like, Liv's never done that. And then they both had blood on the dildo. So it was kind of like, yeah, it was definitely, like, a straight perspective on lesbian sex. But I also see it for what it is, which was a nice scene. It was a good scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you have any other spice that you wanted to discuss?
Spice? No. I just really, really liked that hotel scene. That was my favorite one.
Yeah, it was good. Oh, I just
And then
feel
the
like
only other thing, I mean, it's not really Spice, but I just like can't get over the like at the end with the debutante ball, and like when she came out and like they dropped off like the dress and the suit, and then she decided, or the tux, and she decided to wear the tux. I like sobbed. I was like, oh my god, I'm so proud of you. Like I'm just so proud of you.
there
And
was
then like
so...
her dad walking her down and being like, and the tie, like tying the tie for her,
Yeah.
and just like the acceptance, and just like
Oh,
not even caring that like everybody was whispering, and just it was just such a
yeah,
full circle moment of like, I'm doing this, I'm being proud, and this is my girlfriend and we're doing it. And I
it
was
was
just like,
fucking
I love it
beautiful.
so much.
It was beautiful. Back to the spice though. I'd rate it 4.75 chilies. I thought it
Yeah,
was spicy.
I'm gonna say 4.5. Yeah.
I loved it. Oh,
Yeah.
good spice.
You're
I do, before we get into pace, I do want to circle back to what you were talking about, because there's just so many special moments in that book that
yeah.
I think, you know, when we talk about a Penelope Douglas book, we talk about shock factor and we talk about great smart and we talk about all these things, but there is so much on page romance that crushes your soul in this book.
Yeah.
And makes you feel proud of these girls. And like, this is what I mean. You hate Clay in the beginning. She's an asshole. But then, like you said, her coming out story and her wearing a
Yeah.
tux to her debutante and letting Liv wear the dress. And like, it's just such a power play that feels so beautiful. There's one moment in that book, and I think I've got it in here somewhere, but this line I will never, like, it will stay with me forever. It's my most favorite quote. Don't ask me why, it's a bit corny, but I think it's Clay who says it to Liv, or maybe it's Liv who says it to Clay. I can't remember. But anyways, one of them says, I don't care what I look like anymore as long as I look like yours. And that, like,
I think Clay wrote that. I think that's the poem or something. It was like in Clay wrote it to Liv and put it in her locker, I think. And Liv was like sobbing at her locker, and Clay was like lockers down, sobbing at hers. And I'm like, I can't do this, guys. I can't.
it was so much. Oh, we did get a locker room scene of Smut, and you know how much I love a locker room.
Yes, you're right. We did. We did.
Oh god, I loved it as well, because the showers that were installed to, like, you know, make sure that no one was seeing the gay girl, that's where they had the sex. It was fucked.
Yeah, but that, because then you come to find out that her mom only did it because she thought that Clay wanted her to do it for Liv, because Liv was scared to go in the showers.
Yes, that crushed my soul too, because she thought her mother was homophobic, but then comes to find out that her mother was like, oh no, I did it because you said that you said that Liv was uncomfortable. And then Clay's like, wait, what? It was wild.
I did it because you were concerned about her. Like, and I'm like, oh my
god. And when she comes out to her mum, and her mum's like, honey, I knew because you were hanging up pictures of women. Like, all your posters were all
your friends were doing men and you were doing women. We knew.
Sense. Oh my god. No, there were so many special parts of this book that I think I like this book, and maybe this is like me delving a bit too deep and oversharing, but like, I never got that lesbian experience in high school. Like, I was very much with a dude. I was very much not ready to come out. Like, I mean, I had come out as bisexual, but it like wasn't, I'd done things with women in private, and I'd felt so closeted, and I did for so long. Like, I was so stifled, and this book makes me feel like I lived a teenage romance that I never got. And I think a lot of girls can relate to that, especially other girls who've come out later in life. And I think that's the special part about this book, is that it's living a little fantasy that maybe some of us weren't able to experience. So
absolutely, yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah. So the pace.
Yes.
What do you think about the pace?
I mean, I loved it. I think with books like this, where it is character driven and you know, most of the plot comes from, oh, what are they going to do next? How are they going to fight next? Are they going to fuck next? Like, a lot of the book I really enjoyed. I think there was a bit of a lull when they finally did accept that they were into each other, and I was kind of like, come on, guys. Like, we got, like, the restaurant scene, and then we get the lighthouse scene, and they kind of, that part was a bit boring. But I don't know, like, I say that, but then I go back to it, and in all those little scenes are where we get these beautiful little moments. So yes, the pace is sometimes a little bit slow, but I wouldn't say that it deterred me from the story itself. And I wouldn't say, there were never times, like, the first time I read it, I read it so quickly. I was like, could not put it down, could not stop. I loved it. So, like, for me, I love the pace, but purely because I really love the story, like, really love the characters. So I'm going to say 5 out of 5 just because I love this book.
I'm also going to give it a 5 for the pace. I did really like the pacing of it.
Why? I love that.
Yeah.
I'm feeling very proud. I was scared you were going to hate it, and I was like, I love this book.
No, I liked the pacing of it. You mean in general?
Yeah.
No. Well, then you want me to go first for overall rating? Will that make you feel better?
Okay, go on. Go on, Mel. Okay.
So overall, like I said, I was very scared to go into this because I'm not a bully romance person. But to me, it didn't feel like a bully romance because Liv stood up for herself too. And like you said, Liv could have, like, fucked her up. Like, she was dangerous. She was whatever. She was letting her do it. So for me, it was more of like an enemies to lovers than it was really a bully romance because, like, Liv just let her do it. She wasn't really like your typical, like, person to be bullied. So in my mind, I, like, could, like, disassociate from that aspect of it to make it not seem that way to me. And because of that, I really liked this book, and I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 stars.
I love that.
Because I really do like the love story of it. I love Penelope Douglas books. I mean, I've only read 2 so far, the 2 that we've read on here. But I really like the pacing and the plot, like the character-driven plots, and I like the way that she describes her characters. And I did really like the love story in this and how they went from being, like, enemies to absolutely loving each other. And I love the coming out story. And I love, like you said, how, like, people who have been in the closet for so long, like us, could have that and can feel like they were able to have those romances, even though they were kind of secreted and whatever throughout, like, our childhood and whatnot. So I like that.
Oh, that's nice. Like, this is a 5 out of 5 read for me. It always will be. I love this book with my whole pussy. I actually wrote that down, so you can quote me on that.
I love that for you.
And like I said before, it was a schoolgirl experience I didn't get. I definitely had, like, closeted moments, but I wish that I had that moment of, like, having a girlfriend when I was younger and coming out and being proud. Like, I think that's something that I missed out on. But in saying that, it was because at the time it was a little bit more taboo and people didn't treat it the same way that they do in this day. Like, I'm 34. It was a bit different back then. As much as I hate to say it, it was. I'm
33.
Yeah, like, we're old as fuck. It's definitely a straight-centric lens on lesbian relationships, but it's still enjoyable and incredibly beautiful. Like you said, Penelope Douglas is able to make you enjoy every character that she writes about, whether they are good or they are, you know, morally grey. Like, Clay definitely is not a good, nice person at the start. She had a lot of issues. But yeah, such a beautiful book, and like I said, I love that line, I don't care what I look like anymore as long as I look like yours. Like, that's fucking, like, that just hits you in the heart. So yeah,
it does.
5 out of 5. If you guys haven't read this one yet, highly recommend it. Even if you just want something spicy to, like, switch it up. Like if you're in the middle of a fantasy series and you need a break, I find this is a good palate cleanser. And if you're like me, it could become a comfort read.
Yes. I love it. I love it so much. Well, that's it for this week's podcast. We will see you in a fortnight again. Make sure that you follow our socials to keep up on book club in time for these deep dives. We love having chats in the comments, so feel free to reach out. See you soon. Love, your good girls.
Bye, guys.
Bye.